Well, here I am at IMCAS Asia 2026, and one of the things I'll be talking about is bringing biological honesty back into regenerative medicine. One of the things I should be looking at as well is the misuse of NAD intravenously. We know that NAD within a cell is probably about 500 times higher than it is outside a cell. So plasma is not the natural reservoir where you should top up NAD. A high level extracellular NAD level is physiologically an abnormal state. And the body unfortunately reads that abnormal state as damage, and it reads it as inflammation. So under normal conditions, extracellular NAD stays very low. It spikes only during cellular stress, hypoxia, membrane damage, cytotoxic injury. And unfortunately, if you put it into your blood vessels, NAD is going to be placed as a danger signal. A damage associated with molecular patterns, DAMP, and it alerts the whole innate system that something is wrong. And unfortunately, we're spending our lives trying to reduce inflammation, and the people who are doing this are increasing inflammation. Because like ATP, it accumulates at injury sites and acts as an agonist at the P2Y11 receptors, and it feeds the AR2T and the P2X7 pathways that actually depletes regulatory T cells. In other words, flooding the plasma chemically with NAD initiates a tissue injury signal. And mechanistically, IV NAD can't even do what has been sold by marketers and influencers to do, because being a large polar, negatively charged dinucleotide, NAD does not freely cross cell membranes intact. And certainly the more plausible route is extracellular breakdown into smaller metabolites that are salvaged back into NAD plus within the cell. It's hydrolyzed by surface coenzymes CD38, CD157, CD73, CD203A, and back into MRN and MR and nicotinamide, which probably can actually enter cells. So the infused NAD plus sits in an extracellular compartment where the danger signal happens. And it's been processed then by the same coenzymes, CD38 especially, which arises in age as part of inflammation. So we're here spending our life trying to reduce inflammation in terms of regenerative medicine, particularly neurodegenerative disease such as Alzheimer's, and maybe even heart attacks and all the rest. And one published pilot study with IV NAD showed that it barely rose even 2% at the end of 24 hours. So the doctors who are doing this and putting it into patients' blood system are actually causing the patients harm. And it goes to show you how little respect they have for science. They're actually causing an inflammatory pathway, which is the very thing regenerative medicine is trying to do. And it's going to be regarded by the body as a signal released during cell damage that has all the pro-inflammatory effects, which is precursors that cross the membrane and are arguably a more rational way to raise intracellular NAD than infusing it itself. So this can work both ways. We know that some low-level NAD uptake is transported across P2X7 channels, and that does occur. But whether IV NAD produces any clinically meaningful result in humans outside inflammation is something we're really going to have to look at. Our next targets, I suppose, after NAD or even IV exosomes infusions will be peptides. I'm not totally against peptides by any means, because peptides certainly are getting a raw deal, but we just need to have proper ones that are made within controlled labs. And I'll be speaking more about all this on one of my lectures. So I have 3 different lectures. One of them is pathways of aging, and I've come up with a new model, the integrated pathways of aging that I've written about in a new book. The second one is bringing biological honesty into regenerative medicine, that we don't have this whole field, emerging new field of medicine that I was one of the pioneers of, hijacked by people that are unscrupulous and don't follow science, pretty much the same way as, I suppose, aesthetic medicine got hijacked as well. So we, I suppose, have to get the train back on the rails in terms of this science that certainly has the potential to make people live longer, live better, but I mean, not if we're going to allow it to be abused by people who are abusing it. Thank you. I'll update you tomorrow.